pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2015 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2014, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Mr. Brownlee?
Here.
Mrs. Larrier?
Here.
Mr. Leventhal? Here. Mr. Ryan?
Here.
Mayor DeLuca?
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public, and whereas Section 7 provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting, and whereas desire this governing body to comply with the provisions of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner, now therefore be resolved by the Township Committee, Township of Maplewood, does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the governing body by the public, except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observations of the actions and discussion of the governing body at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. We apologize for the lateness of getting started. We're discussing a couple of issues, legal and contractual issues that we had to conclude. Just so you know, at the end of our public meeting here, we'll be going back into a closed session for the purposes of talking about personnel issues, and we'll also be doing interviews of police officers for the position of captain. So while you all get to go home, we're going to go upstairs and do a little more meeting. So quickly, the agenda for August 18th. We're going to start with a public comment. If there's anyone who would like to address the Township Committee, we just ask you to come up here to this mic, give us your name and your address. Then we have three ordinances on final passage. The first is 279315, which defines gasoline service stations and convenience stores with a fueling station, and also permits within the highway business zone a gas station to operate 24 hours a day. If you'd like to speak on that ordinance, when we get to that ordinance, that would be the time to come up and speak on that. That's, if you want to speak specifically on that ordinance, that would be the time, and you come up and same thing, give us your name and your address. I'll prompt you, I'll ask if there's anyone who wants to speak on this ordinance. The next ordinance on final passage is 2794-15, which is a zoning change which designates the avenue primarily a pedestrian retail zone, and has the highway business zones on the two ends of the avenue. It also allows permitted uses, different uses in the highway business and different uses in the pedestrian retail zone, including a convenience store with a fueling station. And then finally, 2795 actually makes the distinction of the zones by lot and block of the different zones along Springfield Avenue into highway business and pedestrian retail. So for each of those, because they're on final passage, there's a public hearing. So you can speak about one of them, all three of them, two of them, whatever. But after we introduce it and the clerk reads it, I'll ask, is there anyone who wants to speak on that specific ordinance? Then after that, we have a consent agenda, which we have 6 items. We're going to be approving a bid for biodiesel fuel, requesting a bid. We have approval of minutes, approval of bills and claims, and then we're also approving joining the Middlesex Regional Educational Services Commission, which is a cooperative pricing agreement, and we get cheaper rates for that. Then we have our second public comment period, if there's anyone who would like to come up and speak. At that point, we'll have administrative reports, reports from elected officials, and again, we'll adjourn the public meeting. We'll be back here on September 1st, but we will pass a motion to go into closed, and we'll do that to handle some of the personnel items that I spoke about. So if anyone would like to address the Township Committee on any item, We'll ask you to come up and give us your name and your address.
Hello, Joe Strupp, 7 Yale Street, and editor of MapleWoodian.com. I just had a question. The resolution authorized payment of accumulated severance liabilities. Since this names the person and it's a personnel issue, I was just wondering if this is unusual or if this is just a routine paying off employee who's retiring, because it uses the word resigning. Is this unusual or is this just a routine matter?
It's a routine matter.
That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak to the Township Committee at this time? Okay.
My name is Peter Reichart. I represent R&B Tunes LLC, and I'd like to know the difference between
Closer to the mic, sir, please.
the difference between the zonings.
Primarily, the highway business zone allows as conditional uses auto-related businesses, car washes, used car sales, gas stations. Those are all conditional uses. In the pedestrian retail zone, those are not conditional uses. There are no conditional uses. It's primarily street traffic. The other changes we're making is adding professional offices. Right now, professional offices are not permitted on the first floor. And then there's a proposal to change regular offices, which are defined differently than professional. Professional offices are like, could be a doctor's office, could be a accountant, dentist.
So the pedestrian use,
It's going to be,
allow it on the first,
no, it does, it would allow a professional office on the first floor,
oh, it would?
yeah. We've also in here a proposal to allow offices on the first floor. We're going to discuss that tonight. But the difference really is primarily to remove the conditional uses of auto-related up and down Springfield Avenue. It's been a long-standing practice with our master plan to try to narrow the car-related uses.
So you're talking about repairs.
Could be repairs, could be gas stations. So anyone who would want to do that would have to go to the Board of Adjustment and get a variance then going forward.
And what about the grandfather issue?
If it exists, so let's just use an example, Meineke, Maplewood Tire.
Right.
Actually, Maplewood Tire is in a different zone, but say Meineke. That existed already, so they're grandfathered in, anything that existed.
Now, what happens when they sell?
It's a little complicated. They could sell to someone else to continue the use. The time that it expires would be if there's an abandonment of the use. If someone bought that property, say someone bought the Meineke property and ripped out the lifts, that would be an abandonment of the use. So then the new person would have to fit the new zone.
I see.
But if they left it in there, even if it was vacant for a year or so, and somebody went in and operated another one, they would be allowed to do that because it wasn't abandoned.
I'm sorry, Mayor, can I just ask a question of clarification? If a Meineke left and did not rip out the lifts, would a Joe's Body Shop be able to come in and operate it under the grandfather rule?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Yes.
My name is Adrienne Harvard. I live 21 Marie Place. I just need a little bit more clarification. You're talking about this here Meineke. Are any of these businesses open right now 24 hours? You say they're grandfathered. I just don't understand that.
None of the gas stations are open 24 hours.
Okay.
Is that what, because there's a business, Quick Check is open 24 hours. So businesses are not prohibited from being open 24 hours. gas stations are prohibited from opening 24 hours.
Okay, so I just need clarification. So you say businesses, the quick check and say, for instance, Dunkin' Donuts right there, would they be allowed to be open 24 hours?
Yes.
If they so desired?
Yes,
Are they grandfathered in this?
yes.
Okay, now passage of this, would that open the door for, say, a beauty parlor to be open 24 hours a day?
Right now, they're allowed to do that.
They
A beauty
are.
parlor is allowed to be open 24 hours, yes.
And what about the Parkwood Diner?
Yes,
Because I think it's only, I believe it closes at 11, I'm not sure.
yes, roughly around there.
But he could decide to be open 24 hours tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
Yeah. It used to be, when the Maplewood Diner was open, across from the bus station, before the fire, which is about 5 years ago, that was also open 24 hours. The 7-Eleven here next to the Hilton branch of the library, that's open 24 hours. So there's a couple of businesses. There's no prohibition on businesses being open 24 hours, except the gas station businesses have to close at 11 p.m.
Okay, now, one more clarification. I'm just trying to understand your language. The pedestrian retail business zone, now, what is that? Is that Dunkin' Donuts, or, I mean, what is that?
It's, it just says that pedestrian retail would be, what's being proposed is that from Dunkin' Donuts down pretty much to Boyden Avenue would be pedestrian retail. And that would mean that the businesses that would be allowed would be food businesses, office businesses, retail stores, professional businesses, as we talked. It could be doctor's offices, things like that. The things that would not be allowed would be a car wash, a used cars office, a gas station, and that primarily. The gas stations would only be allowed in the highway business zone, which would be on the two ends of Springfield Avenue where the gas stations are now.
So, ma'am, maybe one helpful way to think about this is right now, there's a very small piece of Springfield Avenue that's zoned as pedestrian retail business, and it's basically focused at the intersection of Springfield and Prospect. And the rest of the avenue is highway business, and it allows auto-related businesses. If we pass all three of these ordinances tonight, what's basically going to happen is that little piece of pedestrian retail business zone is going to be stretched for almost the entire length of Springfield Avenue, and the only places that are going to remain highway business are the very ends.
Which would include the 76 gas station.
Right.
Okay, well,
That
see,
would-
all of this is really, I'm really concerned about all of this because I live right there on Marie Place, right behind Springfield Avenue and with Milburn Avenue, right there where that 76, gas station is. And, I really was not aware of none of this because when I go in my house, around 6 o'clock in the evening, I'm there, period. And I was not aware that any of these businesses were allowed, to be open, 24 hours. And my concern is that if you allow, these gas stations and these repair shops to start opening 24 hours, it's going to bring, an element of crime and noise. Because last year I had to call the police department 3 times because I heard male voices in my backyard. And I'm a senior citizen and I live alone. And just about 3 weeks ago, you can check your record, I had to call again, 2 and 3 o'clock at night because the third time in 2014 when the police came out, I do have lights in my backyard and in my driveway. But the third time was when I heard the male voices, and the police suggested that, I get a dog. So I have 2 puppies. Well, they're little Yorkies. And when they were barking, when they bark, I get up and I check. And so, I'm concerned about the element of crime and the noise factor, because right now, the police and the sirens are, very frequent at night in that area already. And I see signs in the village that says, keep Maplewood a village. I mean, I'm getting ready, I would like to petition to keep Maplewood a village, you know, all over, because we have to be, I have to be concerned about my safety, about the noise factor, and like I was thinking that once you allow these gas stations and repair shops to be open 24 hours, that would open the door for these other businesses. But I'm not too aware of too many of them being open 24 hours, and I just am totally against it. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to now move to the ordinance on final passage, the 2793-15.
Item 6, Mayor, ordinance on final passage. Ordinance number 2793-15. It's an ordinance to amend Chapter 137 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Gasoline Service Stations, Repair Garages, and Convenience Stores with Fueling Stations and Fueling Stations. Interpretive statement. This ordinance will define gasoline service stations, repair garages, convenience stores with fueling stations, and will permit gasoline service stations and convenience stores with fueling stations located within the highway business zone to operate 24 hours per day.
Okay, so the way this works is that I'm going to read something, and then I'll invite people if they'd like to speak on this. This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. So this ordinance is the 24-hour gas sales. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this ordinance? Yes, you can come on up.
Hi, Sonia. My name is Doris Fernandez, and I reside at 12 Overlook Terrace, and I am opposed to having 24-hour fueling stations in Maplewood. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, you can come back up.
Again, Adrienne Harvard speaking. I'm opposed to 24-hour gasoline stations, fueling stations, convenience stores with fueling stations, and any other business being open 24 hours in Maplewood.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing, and can we get a motion, Mr. Ryan?
Mr. Chair, I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole, and the clerk be directed to publish the same as passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
Second.
Okay, discussions?
Mayor, we should probably observe that this ordinance was referred to the planning board.
Yes.
And the planning board, in accordance with its statutory responsibility, found that it was in keeping with the master plan. There were some suggestions made, but there's no issue relative to the master plan.
Did you want to say anything about, since you moved it, did you want to say anything about the amendment, about the ordinance?
Well, you know, it's actually a narrowing of the definitions of things, right? So I think it's a good idea. It creates a very narrow exception for gas stations, which are currently not allowed to operate 24 hours a day. Now it only would allow essentially two very small, narrowly defined places where gas stations would be allowed to operate 24 hours a day, and it puts a number of requirements and restrictions and requirements for security and security plans on any gas station that wants to do that. So I feel it's a reasonable compromise between what we think the community wants and accommodating good businesses to come to the parts of the avenue that we're zoning for this. So I'm very much in favor of it.
Yeah, Jan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. After the planning board meeting, I did speak to the Wawa representative and asked him to run I guess they call it a traffic study for me in that area. And the study that came back, and I think the mayor shared it with everyone on the township committee, the study that came back said that during the time frame between 12 a.m. and 5 a.m., the average hourly two-way traffic volume of Springfield Avenue and Chancellor Avenue is 150 vehicles. And then using whatever mathematic thing they use, they came up with that would relate to only 7 customers per hour during that time at this proposed Wawa. When I spoke to Joe Steiger of Dynamic Traffic, I asked him, what about when the Wawa is there? What does the traffic look like? And are we accounting for the people who are coming using the Wawa as a destination, not passing by and seeing a gas station, but using it as the destination? And he indicated that there are no studies. He also said that that's an excellent question, and frankly, I don't know. That could change the dynamics of the study. When I asked him, being that Wawa told me that their business model is to be the destination for those people who are looking for 24-hour gas, the nurse who has to be at work at 4 a.m. or whatever. That's their business model. He said, well, yeah, that would increase. He said that would likely increase that. But he also said, if it weren't a viable business option, if it were a viable business option, then there would be more 24-hour gas stations. I would submit that if it were not a viable business option, Wawa would not be coming here. So my concern with this ordinance is that we don't know what the impact will be, and Dynamic Traffic can't tell us what the impact will be. Other towns around us have ordinances that do not allow 24-hour gas, which makes our Wawa 24-hour gas the destination place in the area, which could increase the traffic to that area. Wawa's business model is to be, their goal is to be the destination place if you need 24-hour gas. This is what this gentleman told me outside of Town Hall the other day. He said, that's our goal. Our goal is for people to know that if you need gas at 3 a.m., you can come to Wawa. That's their goal. He stated that. That's their business model. And for me, that's very disconcerting. For me, that's a problem if there are no other 24-hour gas stations around. For me, it's a problem that the 76 may or has the option to become 24 hours because of this ordinance. And while I understand that this is a section of town that is desperately in need of development, and I applaud the work of those people who are trying to develop it, I don't know that this is the right development for that area. I'm not against developing the area. I'm not against making it lighter and safer and more people-friendly. I'm against this business model and this slippery slope, and so I will be voting against it.
Okay. No, I'm sorry, ma'am, we've closed the public comment on this. So just to be clear about the what's being allowed here, this ordinance does not allow repair shops to be open 24 hours. It's really the pumping of gas for 24 hours. Right now, gas stations are allowed to be open from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. And what we're saying is that gas stations would be permitted, if they choose, to be open from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. the next morning. If they do choose to do that, two things have to be put into place. One is they have to get a security plan approved by the chief of police. We want to make sure that if someone is going to be selling gas overnight, that we have assurances from the chief that they've evaluated the security plan of the business, and we're comfortable with that. Second is that the business would have to meet our noise ordinance. So anything that the business does between the hours of 11 and 6 in the morning that is outside the boundaries of our noise, we would be able to go in and regulate that and have them cease that activity. The additional information is that after our last meeting and after we had some residents, or one resident from Marie Place come up, I went and spoke to the 76 gas station folks there, and they now have, their business plan is to be open in the morning. They open about 6 and close roughly about 10:30. They have 2 people on staff all times for security purposes. And when I asked them about what would be different if we would allow overnight and would they be interested in that, they said that the only way that they would even entertain that thought was if the state of New Jersey changed to self-service gasoline, because then their business model would change. They would not have to put people out at the pumps. They could put people behind a glass enclosure. The likelihood in the state of New Jersey of that happening is close to nil. That there's just no appetite in the state to change to self-service gas. Even if that was the case, that somehow we're the only state now that doesn't have self-service gas. Oregon changed it. Even if that was the case, they would have to make a business decision as to whether or not that works for them. I think Wawa is different. I think Wawa is talking about having 2 people out there. In their testimony to us, they've said that they're going to have 2 people out there at all times, in addition to the couple people that'll be inside too. So I don't think we run the risk of the 76 opening anytime soon. And even if it did, it would have to meet these hurdles of security and noise related. As far as other businesses, this ordinance doesn't deal with other businesses. Those businesses are allowed to stay open, whether they're open now 24 hours or open after we pass this ordinance. They are currently allowed to do that. We have been asked by the College Hill Neighborhood Association and the Hilton Neighborhood Association to take a look at restricting businesses so that they aren't open 24 hours, and we're committed to having that conversation. But at present, businesses are allowed to be open 24 hours. I think this is this whole package of these 3 bills is a tremendous compromise. We worked closely with the neighborhood groups about this. This is the only way we're going to get Wawa into town. I think this is a deal that makes sense. We are getting a major investment by a very stable and I'd just say a very good company to come into our community, and I think I'm in favor of this and want to move this forward. Anyone else? Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
No.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you.
Passes 4-1.
We have another ordinance on final.
It's Mayor, item number 7, ordinance on final passage. Ordinance number 2794-15. It's an ordinance to amend Chapter 271 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Zoning and Development Regulations. This ordinance will define a convenience store with a fueling station, allow a convenience store with a fueling station to be a permitted use within the highway business zone, and will add professional offices as a permitted use in the pedestrian retail business zone.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. What this ordinance does is amends the uses in the highway business and in the pedestrian retail. The planning board has looked at this and has given us some suggestions, and then I've discussed some suggestions with everyone here. Is there anyone who wants to speak on this particular ordinance, which changes some of the purposes within the highway business zone, allowing for a convenience store with a fueling station, and in the pedestrian retail zone, adding professional offices and social fraternal clubs, and eliminating the prohibition of thrift shops and offices on the first floor? Yes.
Hi, Nancy Adams, 67 Harvard Avenue. I just wanted to reiterate what I spoke of at the planning board meeting as a member of the planning board last week with regard to first floor offices. While I don't, as all of you know, I've been doing downtown revitalization redevelopment for 20 plus years, and as a co-founder of College Hill Neighborhood Association and Springfield Avenue Partnership, I have concerns over allowing any office to open on first floor. The professional office, I think, is a logical step for Springfield Avenue. I think it's something that you should do as a first step, but not allow any office. With rents generally lower on Springfield Avenue and a first floor retail storefront, basically a 24/7 billboard for somebody's office. I have an independent consulting business, and I could rent a storefront, and it generates almost zero pedestrian activity. No customers would be coming to my office necessarily. The first floor is really something that needs to be decided upon based on generating traffic and not just bringing one or two employees into an office will not sustain a business district. And I caution the Township Committee on just going what I've seen other towns do unsuccessfully, which is to permit things just to fill vacancies. That's not a good way to plan for a downtown business district, and it's not a good thing to allow on Springfield Avenue. So I would ask that professional offices be permitted, but not regular offices. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak on this ordinance? Okay, can we get a motion for this ordinance?
Mr. Chair, I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Adams, for coming up here. We have a little bit of a timing issue here, and that is we want to move ahead because we're trying to get the Wawa in the ground or started in the ground this year. What I had suggested after the planning board, I suggested to the Township Committee that we pass this ordinance as we've proposed here, and that we allow the Springfield Avenue Partnership to weigh in on the recommendation of the planning board. The Springfield Avenue Partnership was pretty strong in their feeling of removing the offices, and I don't necessarily disagree with Ms. Adams' recommendation and the planning board's recommendation, but I think in fairness to the Springfield Avenue Partnership, we ought to go back to them and have that conversation. The trouble is, if they're not meeting until September 21st. If we go back to them, and then our next meeting after that is October 4th, if we hold off until then we're talking about Wawa not getting started in 2015. If we pass this now with a commitment to again look at it, to have this as a discussion item on October 4th, we can go back in and make the correction that's required under the offices on the first floor.
Section J1.
Yeah, J1, and then section B and C of which deals with the fueling stations and automobile fueling stations. They should be in the HB district only. So what I'm suggesting is we pass the ordinance as is, because if we amend it, it has to be advertised again. We can't even get to it until September. And then we have to have 2 meetings again, well, one meeting in September, and then Wawa is just not going to move until they get some certainty that we're passing this. So we can go back in there, and I can talk to the partnership, explain what we're trying to do, explain what the planning board's thinking is, and then come back here on October 4th, and if we're, want to make these, the change to continue to prohibit offices on the first floor, we can do that, and we can clean up D3, B, and C, which is automobile service stations and fueling stations in the HB district only.
Mayor, just so we're clear, we're not talking about going back to the partnership on item 2, that,
No.
which seems to be drafting, or you're just talking about item 1?
Yes.
I think Ms. Tertelli had something she wanted to.
Yes.
Mayor, you mentioned that the planning board looked at it and gave some suggestions, and I just
Yes.
wanted to be clear that the planning board did find that it is consistent with the master plan as they're required to do.
Thank you. On all these ordinances, on both of the ordinances, right? Yes. Thank you. So I guess what I'm asking is if we pass it, yes, go ahead.
I'm just for clarification, you're asking that we pass this ordinance even though we know that it's not what we want, so that Wawa can get started?
It might
No.
be, it might be what we
It
want.
might be what we want. We don't know. We haven't had that conversation. And we haven't gotten the input from the Springfield Avenue Partnership.
I think the ordinance is fine, but I'm certainly open to an additional discussion with more people about whether we should amend this particular clause back.
So okay.
But I'm okay with going ahead right now, because we really do want to get this project off the ground. That part of Springfield Avenue has been in need of something like this for quite some time, and I believe passing this ordinance enables it.
It's also that the comment from the planning board has nothing to do with the Walgreens development, it has to do with the definition Wawa, has the definition of offices being on the street level or not.
But we're looking to pass this ordinance right now because of Wawa, because otherwise we might consider waiting and having that conversation?
Well, I think that's possible. I mean, or we would get into a deep discussion about whether we agree with the planning board's recommendation or not.
Okay.
But I think we would have a more informed conversation if we have the planning board's recommendation and we have the partnership's reaction to that.
I agree.
But holding up this ordinance in order to do that, I just think it's just going to hurt us.
Okay.
Okay, this has been moved and seconded?
Yes.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
No.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor
Yes.
Kaluka?
Yes.
Passes 4-1.
Okay, we have another ordinance on final.
Mr. Mayor, item number 8, ordinance on final passage, ordinance number 2795-15. It's an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the Township of Maplewood. This ordinance will reclassify the below-listed properties from the highway business to the pedestrian retail business zone.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this ordinance, which identifies blocks and lots along Springfield Avenue and puts them either in highway business or pedestrian retail?
This is the thing I mentioned earlier in response to the young lady who came up to ask the question about taking the existing relatively small pedestrian retail business zone and stretching it to almost the entire length of Springfield Avenue. That's what this ordinance does.
And did you want to tell us that it was found by the planning board, Ms. Teratelli? So the planning board has found it to be consistent with the master plan?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Didn't you have to have a have
Oh, didn't you move it?
you have to have a
I'm
hearing?
sorry.
Don't you have to have a hearing?
Does anyone want to speak on this? I thought I asked that. Yes.
Excuse me for not, knowing, but what listed properties?
Oh, there's a long list of property blocks and lots in the paperwork for the ordinance.
They were all noticed, Mayor.
The ordinance was, so did you get this copy with all these? It says Springfield Avenue North Side, Springfield Avenue South Side.
No, I didn't get that.
Can we possibly just tell her, like, the boundary?
So the pedestrian retail area will be from roughly the 76 gas station all the way down to the firehouse on Boyden Avenue on this side. And on the other side, it would be roughly from just on the other side of the Dunkin' Donuts. There's a piece of vacant land there that's in Maplewood. It'd be from there all the way to the Walgreens, roughly the Walgreens. And that would all be pedestrian retail.
Well,
And then-
again, you know, I regret that I have not been in attendance to these planning meetings and other meetings like this, but I really wish you would reconsider the planning board and what other motivations you have bringing businesses or taxes into the community, as opposed to the residents who live there and near this area. You know, we are plagued by criminal activity, and the openings of all these properties, you know, to allow them to be open and to, I think you're just opening up a can of worms. You're looking for a development, you know, right there on Marie Place where the VFW used to be. We were told that if we didn't allow for those townhouses to be built there, that was commercial property. And so the townhouses have been built there. And then we were also told that they're planning to build townhouses up and down Springfield Avenue. Well, that will bring in more taxes and people, and then you still have the concern of the traffic problem, and really what's, you know, my concern is the criminal activity. We have people coming behind that 76 gas station you're proposing, where the medical building is, in that parking lot, selling drugs. And they come from the Vauxhall, which is right across the street, and even some people in Maplewood. And so, like, I really think you're up in the can of worms. You're thinking about making money and bringing in taxes, but you really have to consider the other elements that will be coming into our community. And I wish you would vote no.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak on this ordinance? Okay. Mr. Ryan, are you moving this?
Move the ordinance be adopted as a whole, and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
Second.
Again, this ordinance doesn't allow anything other than just defines what a piece of property is, whether it's in pedestrian retail or highway business. Doesn't talk about whether it's open or closed. But I do thank you for that information. We will talk to our police department about that particular piece of property that you mentioned. Thank you. Yes.
I just want to say that I think it's a good thing that we open up the pedestrian retail segment of the avenue. I will be voting in favor of it. I would say that I am disappointed that the previous ordinance passed because I think it required a better look. I'm disappointed at the ordinance before that, but I think this one is a necessary change. I am not necessarily moved by the fact that this is consistent with the master plan, because just because something is allowable, I don't believe makes it expedient, but I believe that this particular ordinance is indeed expedient.
Okay. Anything else? Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Ms. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. Can we get a motion on the consent agenda?
Move for approval of the items on the consent agenda.
Second?
Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Ms. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Is there anyone who would like to address the Township Committee? Yes. Yes.
Well, again, I want to express my displeasure in the passing of these ordinances. And you spoke about the security matter, about that gas station having people on security. People selling gas are not security. They are not police and they are not hired security persons. When the Sandy storm came, whatever gas station there was a problem there because the gas station did not want to be open because there was no police protection. And that gas station at that time did not want to supply, and by that I mean pay for their own private security. So again, my concern is security. Is this section of the town right there, Springfield Avenue and Milburn Avenue, is the Maplewood police going to be hired and stationed there for security? Or is the 76 gas station or any gas station that, substantiates themselves, are they going to pay for security? The security is the problem. The security is the problem. And when you look, and when you go up and down Springfield Avenue, it is changing. The community is changing. There are more robberies and more break-ins, and having this here Wawa come in, open 24 hours, is going to bring a different element into our community that will not be needed and that will cause you other problems. And I really think you should look at the different alternatives and think about this seriously. Maybe you don't live in that particular neighborhood, so it won't affect you, but the persons and the people and the residents who are living there paying taxes, we have a concern. And just because they haven't shown up tonight, because you know what? They're really not aware of what is going on. And and a lot of people are on vacation. So, please consider us. I mean, I don't know where you live in Maplewood, and a lot of the areas in Maplewood are not bordered by Springfield Avenue. I mean, we got the traffic coming from all areas, going to Whole Foods, going to Home Depot, and when this gas station is going to be open 24 hours a day, believe me, it's going to create a problem, a headache that you don't want. So please consider. I mean, you don't have Springfield Avenue bordering your streets. Maybe you don't have Springfield Avenue and that traffic and the break-ins happening in your neighborhood and people selling drugs, but we have it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the Township Committee? Okay, we're going to close that. We have administrative reports. Mr. Carrera?
No report, Mayor. Thank you. Unless you have any questions.
No, I don't think so.
No report, Mayor. Thank you.
Ms. Fritzen?
No report, Mayor.
Okay, reports from elected officials. Mrs. Larrier?
No report, Mayor.
Mr. Ryan?
Mayor, are you going to talk about the outstanding job that the Department of Recreation and Cultural Affairs did on the Mandela Project?
I am.
And the
And show your props.
Yeah, then I'm going to defer to you on that.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
Too late.
No, it's not. It's never
Go
too
ahead.
late. It's never too late. I would just like to report that the skate park was officially opened. We will have our, I believe we're going to have an official ribbon cutting later, but there was a pizza, refreshment, let them rip and roar on the skate park, and everyone loves it. And I'm told that they are coming from as far away as Roseland because we have the best skate park in the area.
Did you demonstrate your 520 ollie?
No.
Mr. Brownlee?
No report.
Ms. Leventhal?
No report at this time.
Wow.
Okay.
Opposed to,
So I
depends on what he says.
have a few things.
Depends on what he says.
Today I received an email from New Jersey Monthly. We are in the August edition, September edition, we will be one of the downtowns profiled in the state.
Wow.
But just to get our competitive spirits going. They have selected 16 towns for the best downtown. It's called a Downtown Showdown. And they are going to have internet voting every Tuesday, 1st, the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd, I think, is the championship round, that they'll go from 16 to 8 to 4 to 2 to 1. So I had a quick conversation with Julie Doran, who's the manager of the Maplewood Village Alliance, and September 1st, we're going to plan to be at the train station that morning in sort of a political campaign mode, handing out information to the commuters so that as they're sitting on the train, they can vote as many times as it's humanly possible for Maplewood. So hopefully we'll make the first one, and we'll be out there, and we'll use our social media, and we'll get all this.
Are there categories of awards?
No, it's just...
Because like we could win, most annoying frivolous lawsuit, for example.
I don't think
how
so.
many of those townships had the Mandela Project?
I don't think,
right.
well, I don't know.
That's right.
Princeton did it one time. So it's Asbury Park, Cape May, Collingswood, Haddonfield, Hoboken, Jersey City, Lambertville, Maplewood, Montclair, Morristown, Princeton, Red Bank, Ridgewood, Somerville, Summit, and Westfield.
Whoa.
And there's at least 8 here that we definitely want to beat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
3 that I can think of off the top of my head.
So anyway, we will, we'll get this working in the next couple of weeks, get people aware of it. Second thing is, today I attended a conference, and actually it turned out that Village President Sheena Collum was also there, the Mayor's Challenge to End Veterans Homelessness, and I've signed up for this a couple of years now, and this is part of our affordable housing work, and we're looking in a way that we can see if there's anything we can do to try to help end veterans' homelessness through maybe some construction of new housing or getting folks who are homeless and veterans into some of the housing that we're getting built. So we're going to be talking about this some more and working with the different branches of government and different agencies, the Veterans Authority, HUD, and the Department of Community Affairs on this. So, and the last thing I wanted to mention was the mandala, which I don't know if you've had a chance to go down and see, but it was a fascinating experience. Started out a week ago on August 10th at 4 o'clock. We started at a table in the middle of the woodland, the Great Hall, and the mandala art was etched out by these 5 monks that were here. And for the entire week, they used sand, different color sand, to create this wonderful piece of art. And at 6 p.m. on Saturday, the 15th, they did a ceremony, and they did a ceremony to open, but they did a ceremony at 6 p.m., and at the end of that, they swept up the colored art and actually put it into, a lot of it was put into these little baggies and given to everyone. So it was quite remarkable. And we then marched in a procession to Memorial Park, where we poured the sand into the water. On behalf of the town, I was given a shawl.
Oh, you got to stand up to show it off, man.
And yeah, it goes with the tie here. And also this little thing here. So
From the monastery.
the monastery. So, oh, you got it? Okay. So it was a remarkable week. We had hundreds of people in the woodland. I shudder to think what the fire department would have said, but
It was a little warm.
we had a
at the
lot
end.
of people there. It was getting warm, but it was an experience, and we had the mandala in Maplewood. So we should all feel very proud that, and the monks were just very just incredible folks, and also I think they really enjoyed their time with people in our community.
They played basketball at night.
They did play basketball, and they went for a swim, and they went for a hike.
Went to Newark Museum.
Yeah,
The
considered
largest
Tibetan,
Tibetan.
yeah, Tibetan, right. So it was a remarkable week, and I just want to recognize the work of our Cultural Affairs Supervisor, Andrew Fishman, who really put this together, and the volunteers. So we want to thank everyone for their role in making this possible. And the woodland was outstanding, a little warm.
Lot warm on the last day.
But it was outstanding, and it was just reinforced the decision we made to purchase that and have a place
I
to
was
do this
thinking
kind
the
of thing.
exact same thing,
Yeah.
that
So,
had
Mr.
we
Ryan?
not purchased that.
I think we really owe it to ourselves to recognize really the exemplary job Andrew Fishman did in organizing this and bringing the idea to us, organizing it, helping to make it happen, and organizing the volunteers. And as Andrew said on a number of occasions during the course of the week, I think would be remiss if we didn't recognize the important volunteer contributions of a lot of different people, but most especially Ian Grodman and Lisa Minardi, and Max Grodman, who hosted these men in their home and helped to coordinate their activities. And Lisa was the one who took them on the hike in the reservation and arranged where people were going to play night basketball. And it wouldn't have happened without those volunteers, and it wouldn't have happened without Andrew. And it was an outstanding experience, and not at all what I expected it to be, and really just quite wonderful.
I was very proud to be a Maplewoodian last week, and I have to say that everyone who put it on their social media site got nothing, from my understanding, but positive feedback. And I think we had a name last week.
That was great.
Beyond the brand that we have already.
Beyond the brand that we have already.
It was on, I saw it on TV last night on New Jersey News. It was in the Ledger did a piece on their, first of all, they had a picture of Saturday's paper, which was wonderful, and then they did another piece with a bunch of it on their internet site. I think it was on News 12, and so we got some press, and it was just, again, it was a real feel-good activity.
It was great.
Okay, yes.
And in case anybody missed it, we had live broadcasting of the entire event that was recorded. Will be available on the Township's website, so you can track the progress of the project throughout the different days.
Yeah.
It was really interesting when Andrew was doing the initial planning meetings and had the first volunteer meeting. One of the things he did was he had a video of the week-long project somewhere else, but accelerated so that you could watch the progress in a really a very short window of time. It'd be really cool if we could figure out a way to do that with our tape, because it's quite a thing. It was quite a thing to see the work that they were doing, and watching it go through would be just fascinating.
The artwork and skill was just really very fascinating. Really? And I will say that the live streaming, because my family was on vacation last week, and we were able to
Watch it. Yeah, that was good. We ought to think about that as
It was a very good thing.
something to do.
Were you periscoping?
No, we had a webcam that we have available, and we just...
Because I thought I was getting things saying Periscope. Well, and it said Maplewood, stuff like that, so.
No.
Yeah, it was on YouTube.
Kudos to everyone involved.
Okay, so let's read what we need to read to go into closed.
Sure, Mayor. Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, permits exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be resolved by the Township Committee, Township Maplewood, County of Essex, State of New Jersey as follows. The public shall be excluded from discussion of any action upon the herein specified subject matter. The general nature, subject matter discussed as follows. Personnel, and you had two items you want to continue from 7 o'clock? Personnel and personnel.
Personnel and police personnel, yes.
Right.
You get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, so we're adjourning our public meeting. We'll be back here September 1st, and we'll see you then.